This Tibetan bell vibrates through the heart area or the heart chakra in us all and connects us in a virtual circle at the heart level.
Did you feel it?
Try it again.
Do feel it. Do try it again, because some of us didn't know it was happening. It's a privilege to be here today and to start a meeting in that fashion. I can feel my own heart vibrating and calming down. I hope yours is too. We are privileged today to have with us these 5 extraordinary human beings who have given their life's work to an evolving passion that winds up being in activism for women and girls in a wide variety of ways. You may all remember Wangari Maathai, and she said this a couple of years ago. In the course of history, there comes a time when humanity is called to shift to a new level of consciousness, to reach a higher moral ground. A time when we have to shed our fear and give hope to each other. That time is now. If she thought that time was now, then that time is really now. So we're all part of it, and we have the opportunity to be part of a forward movement looking towards a 5th World Women's Conference, which is Jean Bolen's activist passion at the moment. It's actually my passion at the moment as well, and we're hoping you will all come on board. Because that's what this is all about. Coming on board, getting excited, listening to what these wonderful people have done in their lives to create the space for the forward motion. Jean Bolen, Dr. Jean Shinoda Bolen, probably needs no introduction to most of you, but she is an author, psychiatrist, vice chairperson, the Advocates for 5WCW in India, 2022. If you're not all wearing a button, please go home with one. She's written 13 books to empower people, and they have been published in 90 foreign editions. Ambassador in Warren K. Chowdhury is initiator of the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 as the president of the Security Council in March 2000. If you don't know what that resolution is about, please go home and Google it, because it is very important about women in the peace process. He also was Undersecretary General and High Representative of the UN, Permanent Representative of Bangladesh to the UN, and the founder of the Global Movement for the Culture of Peace. Ruchira Gupta is going to come a little bit later, and she's the founder and president of a worldwide grassroots organization working to end sex trafficking. She's a journalist and on the faculty of NYU Center for Global Affairs and flying right now, so hopefully she'll be here before the end of the panel. Mikiko Otani, international human rights lawyer based in Tokyo, practicing family law with a focus on women's and children's rights. She's a member of the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child and Commissioner of the International Commission of Jurists. Ellie Pradavant, founder and president and CEO of Women's World Summit, creator of awards for rural women's creativity. And in that capacity, she has raised over 500 women from being unknown in a small village to being political powers in their own countries. We have Dr. Pam Rajput, who comes to us from India, which is no small thing. And Dr. Pam is on the Leadership Council of the International Center for Research on Women, Center of Women's Studies in Punjab University. She's done many more things than that, but it's more important to listen to her speak than for me to go through her bio. So having said all that, we welcome all of you. We welcome all of you, and we'll start with Dr. Bolen.
I came to the CSW in 2002 and found out that there was never going to be another World Conference on Women. It was said that you women have had your era of conferences. The Beijing Platform for Action is and was a wonderful statement of what should be. And the idea was that somehow that settled the situation. And no, there wasn't going to be one in 2005, and there wasn't going to be one in 2010. And we started grassroots working towards having one in an era where there actually is the internet and where conferences could be streamed from any place in the major conference to any place that could receive it and organize groups to listen and then talk about issues where they are. So it could be an amazing network of connections through, as it started out with the notion of circles, because that's, I don't know what brought you to the United Nations, but we all got here, and some of us find ourselves returning again and again because we carry a lot of feeling of hope that what we care about will be helped through the United Nations and grow into the possibilities. So we are all dreamers and activists and doers. And what a conference it would be to bring us all together again in India in 2022. I have gone from knowing that we should have such a conference to a deep conviction that we will have one, and that we will have one in 2022. Yes, we can. Yes, we will. I thought we were on the verge of having it in 2012, when the Secretary General and the President of the General Assembly said it was high time to have a World Conference on Women, and asked the General Assembly for a resolution to have such a thing. And it didn't go through. It didn't get voted down. It didn't get presented. It got discussed behind the scenes by the ambassadors, and they were discouraged from putting it forth to be voted on. So it receded again. And now we have a new era that came in with the organizer of the grassroots that we have in the United States of America, possibly the best organizer of grassroots for social justice, for gender justice, for women's justice, for all kinds of liberal, love-based, caring for each other issues and organizations. We have a president that got inaugurated on January 20th, 2017, and on January 21st, 2017, over 500,000 of us went to Washington, D.C. to march.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. And we marched in 300 and something like 673 other countries as well. All over the world, people marched. And it is this energy that it feels as if there is momentum and flow for there to be a gathering in which the women who could make a difference will gather together, connect with each other learn from each other, be role models for each other, and the sisterhood who cares about what happens to women and to mothers. And some of you know me as a writer from an archetypal standpoint, goddesses in every woman. I'm a Jungian analyst whose hobby is changing the world. And the archetype of Artemis is the sister archetypes, the goddess of the hunt and goddess of the moon. So there's a mystical side of her that has to do with the moon, and there is the archer with unerring aim who can aim at a target of her own choosing and practice and work at it until she manages to hit that target. And every single one of you that are here are part of this archetype. And she is the archetype, the only one that looked after the concerns of mothers, her mother, and also was the goddess who was the equivalent of the patron goddess of prepubertal girls. So this is the archetypal energy that supports the idea that if we support what is mother's agenda, that is not all of you are mothers, but all of you have a sense of maternal protection for the vulnerable. And it's not just vulnerable kids, it's vulnerable trees, it's vulnerable animals. There's something about this archetype that we share. And men share it also, because it is the archetype of the sibling that has relationships with her brother, and it is what brings us together at a deeper level. Now, I got here through the Millionth Circle, a little book that is part of the circle movement. That is, if you have a circle of people, of sisters, or men and women, that know you well, a circle of trustworthy others who will support you and your dream, and allow for those times of silence in which you go into either prayer, meditation, or whatever one does when we tap into a sacred field at the center of the circle. So this particular activist has a sense of what to do with the outer world, but its roots are in the deeper, more mystical side. And I think that this is important because the invisible world supports us through synchronicities. If you are working with something that is deeply heartfelt and a source of your meaning, chances are, if you will just do what needs to be done and without fear, what happens is you do find connections are made. So this is part of the underlying underpinnings of circles, supporting each person who comes, with supporting each vision that needs to manifest. And the sense that the reason I go back to the marches and to the Me Too movement is the awareness that there is such a thing as energy and flow and a rising of it. And there's a saying that a rising tide lifts all boats. And the rising feminism is, and the potential to really raise it and become an idea whose time has come. And the saying that there's nothing so powerful as an idea whose time has come. And the idea is essentially equality and empowerment of the feminine, of women. So there's a balance in culture, so that violence stops and we have the potential for peace. I mean, basically, women, peace, and security are truly related to one another. Without freedom from violence, you also don't raise children who can grow into people who become who they were meant to be. Otherwise, they identify with aggressors, they get into hierarchy, they do power over, and they are at heart afraid. So it does help to have a certain psychological understanding of the powers and the principalities that we find ourselves in. So from Millionth Circle to here to 22 years later, from 2002 to 2022. It will be a 20-year stretch of activism for me, knowing that we need to have a 5th Women's World Conference, and knowing that it is the conference that will turn it over and connect the millennial generation, while some of us, many of us, are still around to be elders. So this is just a touch of what it is that has moved me to be an activist who knows that when you bring people together, like-hearted, like-spirited, and you bring them to a country which is the largest democracy in the world, which had the strongest to the feminism in the streets in India preceded the women's marches. They started a revitalization of activism in the streets. Their new government is headed by Prime Minister Modi, whose words need to be energized from the bottom up. His words at the top are the need to stop violence against women. And activism from the bottom up will support him to live out the words that he has brought into his inaugural address and then into the next time he had a major elected victory. So it's all there. The pieces are all there. And we're going to do our time right.
That would mean that Jean has finished.
Right, thank you. Well, I'm going to sign off then with what I've been putting on the bottom of my email letters and things. It's the energy with which I do my activism, with love, hope, perseverance, trust, and gratitude. Thank you.